Hi, I'm Kenny Joya. Welcome to another one of my tutorials. In this video, I'm going to show you how to remove or filter plugins from the effects list in Reaper. Now to get to the effects list, we'll go to the View menu and go down to the effects browser. Or we could choose the keyboard shortcut Shift-F. That opens up all our plugins in the effects browser. And if you're like me, you have a very long list to choose from. If you download a bunch of free ones, or buy some third-party ones, or just the ones that come with Reaper, there's quite a lot. But if you want to filter down this list, we could do that in the preferences. But just a reminder, we could also organize them with folders. Over here, we could put our favorites in the favorite folder, or create new folders over here. Just right-click, add folder. Let's create one for EQ. Then we could search in our filter, EQ, and all the plugins with EQ in their name will show up. We can grab our favorites and just drag them to that folder. Then at any point, we could just choose the folder and they're all there. But we could also filter the entire list. So some of these plugins won't show up at all. For example, I'm on Mac, so there's a bunch of plugins called audio units, or AU, that I never use. Most of them are duplicated as VST over here. So to get rid of them, we'll go to Preferences, and scroll down to Plugins. And right over here, we could choose to filter our plugins. For example, if we click right here, we can add a string of text, NOT, not AU. And that's going to remove all the plugins with AU in their names. So as we look through the list, there's no AU or audio unit plugins in the list anymore. If we go here, they're all gone. But there's one problem with that. There are some plugins with AU in their name. Not because of the type of plugin, because some of the plugins have audio in their name, AU. So if I type in audio, those plugins aren't here. Let's go back to the preferences and remove that text string. And with audio in the filter, we can see those plugins with audio in their name. Like this one, Stillwell Audio. That one's also going to be removed. So what we should do instead is add in the semicolon right here. AU semicolon. Now it'll remove just the AU plugins. And we can see they're all gone. But we still have the AUI plugins, audio units, instruments. We might want to remove those as well. Because again, many of them are duplicated as VST instrument plugins. So let's remove these plugins. Go right after that text string and type in not AUI. Let's put the semicolon in as well, just in case. And now if we go through all our plugins, there's no AU or AUI effects in the list. So it scales it down a lot. So if we type in EQ, I'm just going to see EQ that are VST or JS plugins, not the AU or AUI versions. Now another example of a plugin I want to remove, if I type in x86, these are older versions of my plugins that are not 64-bit. So I want to remove these as well. Let's go back to the preferences, type in not x86. And now those plugins are removed as well. If I type it in the filter, I'm not going to see those outdated plugins. Once again, making my list more usable. Now, being that I'm not using AU plugins or AUI, we can remove this from the left side. Just right-click, go to Show in Left Pane List, and remove AU and AUI, so they don't show up on this left side anymore. Now we could also rename our plugins, which will help when we use our filters. For example, there's a plugin right over here that's an EQ. If I open it up, it looks like this. But one problem with it is it doesn't have the text EQ in its name. So if I search EQ in the filter, it's not going to show up. But we could add that text to the name, so it will. Just right-click it, rename effects. Let's add EQ to the text. And now if we search in our filter for EQ, all the EQs show up, including this one, because EQ is now in the name. So we can rename them to make them easier to find. And we could also rename them to make them easier to hide. For example, let's say there's a plugin right here that I don't really use, called Filter Crusher. Instead of removing it based on its name, I could change the name and add that text to the preference. So let's right-click it, rename it, go to the end, and type unused. Now we can go to the preferences and add in not unused, and any plugin with unused in the name is going to be hidden. So it's no longer here, and if we type in Filter Crusher, it doesn't show up because it's removed from the list. And we could add unused to any plugin we don't want to see to remove it from our list. And we could also combine terms. For example, if I type in SoftTube in our filter, there's a bunch of plugins made by that company. But now let's type in Verb. And now we just see all the reverbs, including the reverbs by SoftTube. Let's say I don't really like their reverbs. I could remove just theirs. Let's go to the preferences, and we'll type in not, we'll add parentheses, and then a space. That space is important, and type in SoftTube and Verb. Put another space, and then end parentheses, and it's just going to hide plugins with both of those words in the name. So if we go back to our list and search Verb, we still have all our reverbs, but none of them with SoftTube in the name. Or if we type in SoftTube, we still see all those plugins, but not the reverbs. So just the reverbs by SoftTube are hidden. So you can see it's very flexible, and you can customize it any way you want to remove any plugins you don't need to see, and make this list a lot easier to browse through when you get rid of the plugins you don't need to see or you're not going to use. So anyway, that's removing or filtering plugins from the effects list in Reaper. I hope you learned something, hope you can use it, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.
Bye.